Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 44 of Absolute Scenes, the podcast listened to by such people as my mom, Billy's mom, and the artist Banksy.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Billy?
Good. I'm good. It's I don't know how it was in Wolverhampton today, but the weather's made a turn for the worst down here in Wales. So it's back to normal rain. But because of the facilities available to us at my school, and we're not able to use the sports hall, we've been outside. So I've been soaked wet through all day, which has been fantastic.
Careful, you'll develop a cough and a fever, Billy.
I know. But no, I did have like 16 layers on and stuff. I'm obviously now taking them all off because I've been sweating all day. But how are you, Tom? You good?
Well, Billy, it's been a very stressful week here in the house of Rouse, and we've had a kitchen delivered, and this room has now become the second kitchen. It's got all of the previous stuff from the kitchen in downstairs. There's no floor, but there is.
There's no floor whatsoever. Just a hole in the ground, or
just a void. But there is what looks like a kitchen now. There's, it's pretty much finished. They just need to tile the walls and the floor, which they'll do over the next couple of days. But pretty happy with it. It looks really, really nice, really good. So,
are you checking all of the stuff that's in there then, or?
That's not our responsibility. It's being removed. They're having a skip come for an hour, and then they're just lobbing everything in. So,
right, okay.
It's just been sitting in the garden. I've also bought myself a shed, Billy. A little plastic, one of those plastic like storage units, just to store it. No, I wouldn't say it was a shed. A shed is something that you can go in when you've been told off by your wife. But
you haven't got one of them yet either, so
no. But I'll just go back to the point I made very early on. So this podcast listened to by our parents and, of course, the artist Banksy, because almost as soon as the episode went live last week, episode 43, there was a painting, and also in that episode we suggested that if Banksy listened, he should, do a picture of Neil Buchanan, because apparently Neil Buchanan was Banksy, or is Banksy.
Yeah.
And, lo and behold, that painting appears somewhere. I don't know where it appeared. Was it?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Somewhere random. But so obviously Banksy must be an avid listener. So hello, Banksy, if you're listening. Do you think that either one of our mothers is Banksy?
My mother potentially. She's not that bad at art, but I wouldn't say to the extremes either. She's hit it very well, but no, I don't think my mother. I don't know about your mother's artistic skills.
She's very good at jigsaws. I don't know about painting.
Yeah, mine the same. I think that obviously is a mother's trait. You get to a certain age and think. But I was just before we move on. Obviously, not many of our listeners will know, but you are now entering your you're 29 now. You're going to be 30, so you're in your 30th year of life. So obviously that's why you've got to a shed. You must be getting to that age now where, I need a shed. I need to put all my stuff in this shed and stuff. So I know since you've moved in with Alice and stuff, you've been allocated a wall for your wall stuff.
That's right. You can actually see it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can actually see it. It's just there over my shoulder. There's 4 frames. But, if anybody watched my YouTube channel previously, they'd have known that I had a whole room dedicated to it. So to whittle it down to only that, I think, that's a fair compromise.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Well, that's what I'm going to say is, obviously, that is now where you're going to be filming the podcast and recording the podcast, is the shed moving forward. You're obviously in the second kitchen at the moment, but you'll be kicked out of there soon.
Yes, exactly. I can't remember. I was going to say something else then, but I've forgotten. So I'll just ask you about the football then, Billy. So Chelsea smashed a lower league team, did they, in the League Cup? Wolves got knocked out, and then we lost to Man City. How did you get on we played 2 Premier League games now, just the one?
We played 2 Premier League games, beat Brighton, lost to Liverpool. We were down to 10 men, thanks to Christian deciding he was going to be a rugby player and rugby tackle Mane when he was clean through on goal. We looked, it was 0-0 and we were just sat back the whole time. And then Liverpool just, with 10 men, I think, against Liverpool, they are just going to end up beating you because of their attacking power and stuff. So Cripper had another howler, so we've now signed a goalkeeper today.
Yes.
If this goes out on Thursday, so we've signed some competition is the words that are being used.
I
Not
think
a
you're going to say
replacement.
somebody competent.
Yeah, he. Well, we'll wait and see. I haven't seen much of him because we have been linked with a goalkeeper throughout the whole transfer window. But yeah, and then last night we beat Barnsley 6-0, which, in fairness to Barnsley, I don't know. No, last season they just managed to stay up. I think they stayed up on the virtue of Wigan being deducted points.
Right.
And they were really attacking yesterday. It could have been 6-5. I think
it could have been 6-1.
It could have been. It was they had. I think at one point we were 30. It was like 29 shots, and it was like 16 to us, 13 to them. So they were shooting. Granted, it might have been either Willie Caballero was having a blinder, or they were just terrible at shooting. It was always going straight at him. But yeah, it was. I did feel not sorry for Barnsley, but it looks as though they'd be an exciting team to watch. So if you want a lower league team to support this year. Barnsley might be the way. I think the draw's been made as well already. I think
I don't know. I'm not interested. Not interested anymore in the League Cup. We're out of it. So.
The only interest is because we've got Luton or Tottenham, and that game got postponed. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, but Luton had positive cases and were unable to field a team.
Oh. I don't know. I don't think it's Luton because Luton played against Man United, didn't they?
Oh, not Luton.
Hull.
Who was it? I'm sure it begins with L. I'll have a look.
Liverpool,
after.
Leicester, Livingston.
Keep going, Tom. Keep going.
Leyton Orient.
Leyton Orient is Leyton Orient. I think.
I'm so.
Leyton Orient is probably the team. I don't quote me, but we're supposed to get one of them. It was only because my dad said, "Oh, we've got Luton or Tottenham," so I've just quoted him, and he's obviously wrong. But yeah, how are you feeling about Wolves? Obviously, you've only played one game and got. I don't know.
Well, we've played 3 games now. We've won 1, lost 1 in the league. Lost in the League Cup. But I don't know, the game against Manchester City, we were terrible in the first half. The penalty that we gave away, Romain Saiss, don't know what on earth he was doing. I do it often on FIFA, when the ball has gone out and you just make your defender slide for a laugh, and then the attacker trips over him. I couldn't believe what I was seeing in real life. So we shot ourselves in the foot with that. And then we had a real good couple of chances when it was 2-0. Start of the second half, we had some excellent chances that we just blew. But hopefully this new signing. So since we last spoken, Wolves have sold Diogo Jota to Liverpool, which lots of people, including yourself, sort of went, "Oh, who's going to replace Jota?" Nobody. He's rubbish. I can't believe we've managed to get £45 million for him. I think that's an absolute bargain for. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. What's the opposite to a bargain? What do you call it when you make a good sale?
Good
deal?
turnover, I suppose. Good deal. Yeah, good deal.
Yeah, so
I was asking purely as... Go on.
We've made £30 million profit on him. He was not performing very well. He'd only contributed in something like 5 games or 7 games. He scored he scored 7 goals in the Premier League last season, and they only came in 5 games. Goals and assists. So you're taking out nothing, and you're going to replace it with Podence, who has shown in his brief spell that he's a very, very good player. He contributed a goal on Monday with an assist, put it through the legs of De Bruyne. And then you've got Traore now, who's going to push up to right wing back because we've used the money from Jota to buy Barcelona's right back. I mean, I don't follow Barcelona very closely, but I've seen a video of him. He's very, very good, and he's not just some player who is sort of a half in the first team, half not. He's a very, very good player. He's played
in the hundreds.
Yeah, he's played 100 times for Barcelona. He's a very, very good player. And, you don't pay £35 million for a right back if he's not going to be top quality. So our right-hand side now is got to be the fastest in the league. We're something to be feared. Yeah. So I think in summary, we've had a very, very good transfer window, even if we don't sign anybody else at this point. But I think we're going to sign another attacking player. And I think we're probably going to need another defender. On a side note, Billy, I went out for a meal on Saturday, and we were waiting it was in the Mount Hotel in Wolverhampton, which is where all the away teams tend to stay. And we were milling around in the foyer after we'd finished, and a small little teenage-looking boy comes in with a mask on. I was looking at him thinking, I know him from somewhere. Have I taught him or something like that? turns out it was Vitinha, the Wolves' new signing.
Yeah.
And he's obviously living in that hotel at the minute, and he walked past to a young man called Fabio Silva, who was also in there. But I didn't actually see Fabio Silva. I did see Vitinha. So yeah, they were wearing masks. So
that's the main thing.
They're abiding by the rules.
The only, as we were speaking off air before we were recording this, not that we want to spend too long talking about football, was because I asked purely on the basis of, as I asked you earlier, who was going to replace him, who's currently in the Wolves team. So then I could put them in for my dream team. So I was thinking along the same lines as you, that you had ready-made replacements there. So I was hoping I could get a bargain. And as I've spoken off air, I've already missed the train, as it were. Yeah. But anyway, moving on.
What else have you been up to this week then, Billy?
So I'm on I'm obviously a teacher like you are, but I'm only in part-time. I mean, on a 0.8, as it were, which means I have 1 day off a week. And this week, I thought I'd make the most of the sun before it quickly turned, as it did, as I mentioned earlier. And I went for a walk. Now, quite a few people who know me, when I go for a walk, it's more of a marathon sort of walk where it's ridiculous. So I ended up walking from Cardigan, where I live, to Llangrannog, which is about 30 kilometers. So it took me most of the day. I ended up getting very sunburnt, which most people will know about me. But it's all on the back. I'm not going to show you on the video because it's the back of my neck, because I walked with the sun behind me, and the backs of my legs. I got lost as most, because I walked. There's a coastal path that runs the stretch of Wales, basically, and it links Aberystwyth, where your parents' caravan is, to Cardigan. So I was walking along that coastal path, and I thought, right, over the next few days off that I have, I'm going to try and walk as much as I can. So next time I have a day off, I'm going to start in Llangrannog and walk there. But it was I enjoyed it. My legs were stiff the next day, but the benefit I had from it was I managed to listen to all the podcasts that I've not listened to since going back to work, because it's just been hectic and my head's been spinning. So I managed to smash out, I think, about 6 episodes, because it took me about 6 hours. I stopped to have lunch. Well, I say I stopped to have lunch. I took a picnic with me and was carrying that, so I stopped and had that. I sat on a bench, and these 2 old women came and sat next to me, and I obviously was oblivious to this, but it was the day that more of Wales got put into lockdown, and they were saying, such and such has been, and all this stuff, and there's Cardigan's going to be next. I was like, oh yeah, all in Welsh. It was the funny story about that was, started talking to them in English because they thought I was a tourist, and then they started talking Welsh to each other, and slagging me off.
Really?
And then I took, well, not slagging me off, but they started talking.
It's bloody tourist.
Well, basically, yeah, they were like, oh, tourist, and I went, and then I answered. I just chipped in on the conversation. You could see him just go, oh shit, he knows what we're talking about, and then let me join in and stuff. But it's obviously because of my accent, because I do have that northern twang. They were obviously, he's come down and and all this stuff, and they, all this stuff, and I just chip in and say, oh yeah, but in Welsh, just, all these tourists, and they're gonna spoil it for us, just soothing their egos after they, basically slagged me off. So yeah, that happened. But yeah, I know you during lockdown you were, and I think you still do. You were going out for, maybe not as long as I was, but for your frequent walks. When I came down to see you in Pembrey, we went out for a nice stroll and stuff. But have you ever thought of doing anything to that extent, Tom, like walking or something like?
In a way, I already have, Billy. So there's been a couple of times where I've walked that kind of distance in a day. I've done a few times a walk called the Bridge North Walk in the Midlands, which is around a little town, and it's about 26 miles. I think it's the same as like a marathon.
Yeah,
and
26.
I've done a week worth of walking in the Pyrenees when I was in the sixth form, which I mentioned on your podcast, Billy, a backpacker's guide to travel. And
well done, Tom.
So I walked about 100 miles in 4 or 5 days there, which was quite good. But
that's good.
Yeah, certainly with the prospects of another lockdown coming, I think I've just today signed up for the cycle to work scheme, but I'm not going to cycle to work, obviously, because that would be a stupid thing to do, because I'm not cycling down the Hagley Road, which is a really busy road. But so I don't know if you have the same thing. Do you have the same thing over there?
We do. Yeah. So just
for the listeners, if you don't know, Mom, you get a voucher. You get a voucher for like 350 or up to however much you want. The school has got a budget of £10,000 that they can spend on cycles for you.
Yeah.
And then they just deduct the deduct a
Difference.
certain amount of pay from your pay to make up the difference throughout the year. So I've done that today, but I'm waiting for the certificate to come, which hopefully will be in the next couple of days, and I'll be able to purchase a bike. And that's what my plan is for lockdown number 2, is to get out on the bike a little bit, because we've had a lot of time to reflect now with the children coming back and saying, right, what did you do in lockdown, or what did you wish you had done? Obviously, I'm really happy with what I did in lockdown. I've made a lot of huge life changes, which I feel very happy about. But I think next time I need to be a little bit more focused on my fitness, because having come back to football and cricket recently, I've noticed that I'm not as agile. Or I wasn't as agile. In the last couple of times I played, I've started to feel a little bit more agile. But what I have noticed as well, I was complaining about my knees a lot recently, and I thought, that's just because I am getting old or whatever. But just going to work every day and moving around the classroom every day constantly has had such an effect. And now my knees feel like I feel like I've got a new set of knees. I feel amazing.
So I don't know. You don't have a Fitbit, do you?
I have, but I don't use it anymore.
I don't use. No. So it's been so a lot of staff have got those in the school that I work in, or similar sort of stuff, or they have it on their phones and stuff like that. And the way the setup is in my school is all the the pupils are in the same classroom and the teachers move around. So, which is quite normal for me. I don't have a classroom and I've got to move around and stuff like that. So it's a normal, I'm carrying on as normal. I'm having to go to classrooms, which I normally don't have to, because all the staff are moving now, but it is what it is. But a lot of staff now are saying, I'm doing X amount of steps and X amount of steps. And they're going, I've done 12,000 steps today, and I normally don't do that until the end of the day. So by 3:00, they've hit their goals and stuff. And then I just chime in and go, I normally do 25,000 steps a day in school and stuff. And they're all like, what? And I'm like, this is normal. I don't know why you're all complaining about all this walking around. It's good for you and stuff like that. But I think the kids now, because they are obviously, it's flipped now. The kids now are probably doing less now in school, because I don't know how it is with you, but because they're sat in the same class all the time.
And they're not allowed. They're not even allowed to move chairs. They have to. We've had to fill in forms for track and trace, and they have to stay in there. On that same note, Billy, the app today has gone live. The NHS COVID-19 app. I've downloaded it as soon as I possibly could. Have you got it, Billy?
No, because my phone's dead. So
cool. That's the end. No, but in all seriousness, I think I was trying to encourage the children to go and tell their parents and stuff, because I do think it's important that, as much as we can, even however much we disagree with the government or whatever, this is actually made by Apple and Google, this app. It was because the government's app failed. So I don't feel as bad supporting this, but I do think it's important that we do try and support the contact tracing thing that's on it. It doesn't drain your battery either as much as the government one was going to. Even though you've got to have your Bluetooth on all day, it doesn't cause that much battery loss. So if you haven't got it already, if you search for NHS COVID-19 on App Store and download that, it's got lots of terrible reviews because people used it before. People used it before it went live, so they're going, we can't scan into the places with a QR code. And there's an NHS response saying, yes, Karen, that's because it's not on yet. So just bear with it. It's going to have to work, and it won't be as technical as the Chinese one that it turns your phone green or turns your phone red if you're allowed to leave places and stuff. It's not going to be like that, but it's going to be cool. Worthwhile, I think, in the long run. That's not my
recommendation. By the way. You're saving that to the end. You're saving that to the end, Tom. Anyway,
absolutely. So let's have Billy Eve it or not, then, shall we? Next, Billy.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to go on to that next. So here I've got the 3. So how it works, in case this is the first time you're listening, where have you been? That's all I'm going to say. So basically, I give Tom 3 news stories. We were going to alternate it, but Tom's just given up because he's useless. I give Tom 3 headlines. I've got them on my phone, so I am going to look at them on my phone as well. So bear with me, Tom, as I open them up.
You might have an advantage now that I don't go on Twitter and things like that, so I might not have seen these obscure stories.
These obscure ones as well. So I've got no more babies owning businesses. A naked man is arrested for humping a statue in front of a white horse, the White House, not a white horse. And a Dutch Football Association pulls plug on sex toy sponsor deal. There are your 3 stories, Tom.
Billy, you've gone very blue today.
Yeah, well, I found the 2 news stories, and I was like, these, because what I do is I look through the newspaper that we get for the cafe and stuff. Not that the cafe's open, and find these like headlines, and I was like, well, these 2 link up like this, so I'm gonna have to make up a story now, which is linked to these. So which one do you want to know about?
That's interesting that you feel like you've given it away there, Billy.
Have I?
You said, well, what you said was, I was looking through the newspaper and I found these 2 that were very similar. And the 2 at the end are very similar. But I'm going to stick my neck out the line before I ask any information.
Yeah.
The first one feels like it could be a real thing, in that people probably who are struggling with their business going under, they might put it under the name of somebody, you know, like Harry Redknapp did with his dogs and his bank accounts.
Yeah.
It might be that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
The middle one, just sounds like it could happen in America. That sounds feasible. Yeah. And the last one sounds like it could happen in Holland with the sex toy TV sponsor. So, football shirt sponsor. So, I'm going to go. Do you want to
ask any questions? Oh, go on.
I'm gonna go for, and then you can explain through each one, and then tell me which one is right. I think so. I'm gonna say that the baby's owning the business is the fake one. So tell me about that one first.
Look, you've absolutely nailed it. What you said was, as in the story that you've given is people were going bankrupt or they were putting their names within. They're like young children's, changing the ownership to them and then and then putting it up. So basically, the government have now put in a place where you can't do that anymore. That's basically it. So that's real. So basically, what you said is they're cranking down on them. They've got to do a verification system to stop fraudsters taking advantage of the UK's lax rules in terms of that. I think it's something like 4,000 beneficial owners. In 2018 were under the age of 2. So, that's in the whole UK. So that one is real, Tom. Which one would you like to know about? Which one would you like to know about next?
Right, well, tell me about them both and I'll tell you which one's the lie.
Okay, well, which one do you want to know first?
The humping the statue.
Humping the statue. So, an 89-year-old man has been arrested by the Secret Service because he was caught with crack cocaine and counterfeit Viagra pills.
How was he 89?
89. Yes, this was yesterday morning because he was engaging in a sexual intercourse with a bronze mount of Andrew Jackson's statue in Lafayette Square, just across the street from the White House.
Okay, tell me about the other one then.
So basically, it's FC. I think it's MN. So it's EMMEN. They'd struck a sponsorship deal, and it's been deemed inappropriate for both parties, and it's by mutual consent. And it was named. So it was the chairman, which is Ronald Lubers, who agreed to deal with Easy Toys. Does not understand the Dutch FA's reasoning. Basically complaining that they can't stop them. The link between the sex industry is perfectly normal. It's a perfectly normal company, especially within Holland and stuff. So that
within Holland.
and obviously he's complaining about gambling being used and things like that as sponsors. And obviously previously there was beer. I think beer's been cranked down on a lot, and obviously gambling is now. So obviously I think they're obviously trying to find a new avenue, shall we say, into it. So obviously that Babies was right. So which of those two do you think is?
I'm gonna go for the statue one being a lie. It has to be, surely, just because that's the way you've told the stories as well. You gave a name for the manager of the club or the managing director of the Dutch sex industry shop. I don't know.
Well, I do actually have a name for the bloke. I just obviously didn't read it out. It was Phineas Johnson was the name that I'd come up with.
Phineas Johnson.
So yeah.
Very good.
So yeah, but well done, Tom. Well, I still managed to fool you with the babies one because I found
you did, yeah.
so I'd actually found 3 stories. But the other one had it was an image. There's been a statue erected in a country in some place it's 2 fish, but the 2 fish at a certain angle look like 2 parts of men's genitalia. So then, and what I've done then, I've taken that and gone right. I'll make a statue story up. I'll try and find it off air and show you the picture stuff. Because I thought for the podcast, it's not got the elements that you could have stuff. So that's what I use. I use that to make this other one up and stuff. So yeah,
very good.
So moving on, do you want me to move on to the world famous poll, Tom?
Oh yes, go on then. Hit us with a poll, Billy. That's what it's going to be called. Hit us with a poll.
Yeah. Well, last week we had a whopping 4 people vote on the poll. We've gone up this week, Tom. You'll be happy to hear.
Just let everybody know, Billy. Where can they find this poll?
Well, I don't know whether I was going to suggest, Tom, whether you put it up on Instagram because you use Instagram a lot more than me.
Okay.
So whether it's because I think it might be easier on Instagram because at the minute I'm putting it up on Twitter and sharing it on the Twitter page, which I can't remember. So I'm putting it. I'm using my Twitter and then sharing it on Absolute Scenes.
Okay.
So then it's going through that. So it's more than 20 people are seeing it. So Tom can tell you where you need to go. So it might be better on Instagram. So we might try that next week. But 5 people voted this week, Tom. So we've gone up. And the question I posed was, who makes the best chocolate? So the 4 chocolate companies. So I've made a mistake. I'm going to hold my hand up here. I literally Googled the 4 oldest chocolate companies and used those. And I made a mistake because Adam White, a friend of the podcast, he commented saying his vote is for someone else. So I put up Nestle, Cadbury's, Lindt, and Hershey's. Hershey's is an American company, which I think we can probably now get here in
I think we can, yeah.
UK. But I obviously have American friends on my Twitter as well, so hence why I went there. But he said he voted for Mars. Is it Mars? I'm trying to get the tweet now to work, but it's not letting me see his comments.
So Mars is a brand Inc. as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's because they make Galaxy, because Mars makes Galaxy.
Yeah.
So he was saying that was where his vote was for. So regardless of his vote, it was 100% Cadbury's for the 4 options I had. And then he had a vote for Mars. And I said, right, well, anyone who wants to like that can like that. And 2 people voted on that. So regardless of his, I'm sorry, Adam, it was still Cadbury's. Tom, have you got a preference?
I would go for Cadbury's as well. And what I want you to drill down on next week, Billy, is I want you to find out which Cadbury's bar is the nation's favourite. Yeah. By nation, I mean 5 people.
By 5. This is what I was going to lead on to because I thought, right, once I have which brand, I'm going to then focus because I could turn around and go, the amount of chocolate bars. So I'm going to pick 4. We'll probably have to discuss them off air and decide which we do. Whether we both do 2 polls or whether we put one on Instagram or Twitter, just have a look. Tom
we could leave it open. We could leave it open to people just telling us what they want, what they think could be best. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Time for the final part of the show, the bit that everybody's been waiting for. Just while we're on it, if you want to follow us on Twitter @Scenes Podcast or Instagram is Absolute Scenes Pod. And if for any reason you feel the need to email us, it's rouseroach.pod@gmail.com. But I can't see why you'd need to email us unless you've got any funny stories about being bitten by an animal or whatever it was we spoke about a couple of weeks ago.
and YouTube, if you want to watch it, just search Absolute Scenes.
Yeah, if I ever remember to put it up, I think I have put a few up. But yes, we'll see.
Well, you have to now because you've referenced your photos, so you're going to have to put this one up.
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. Okay, so this week I'm going to recommend, as well as the NHS Test and Trace app, I'm going to recommend that people purchase an Audible subscription.
Okay.
And they listen to history books because I've finally realised, as you mentioned to me earlier on, that it is my 30th year, and I finally found what I'm interested in, and that is history. and I've listened to about 13 hours worth of Andrew Marr's A History of the World, which is a very, very good book. But there's a lot of, I mean, as you will probably be able to understand, there's a lot of people who are involved in the entire history of the world. So there's a lot. It's quite difficult to remember who's done what. I've learned quite a lot of little interesting facts. For example, Billy, did you know that Morris dancing came from the Moors, the Muslim tribes that invaded Europe from North Africa, which we learnt about when we went to Madrid, didn't we, Billy? Do you remember?
Yes.
So they brought the dancing with them, and it's called. It's
hence why it's called Morris.
Morphed into Morris dancing over the years. So fun fact. And then I've bought the Diary of Samuel Pepys to read or to listen to, and Chernobyl. So that's 13 hours worth of listening to how the Russians hid all that. And then I've also bought Adrian Mole.
Brilliant. So I got a subscription as well.
Oh, have you?
I got one during lockdown. I'm trying to get mine up now. I know I've gone for classic books. So I was listening to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The BBC radio version, it's not from the book, so it's the it's like the
dramatization
radio show that they did. So I've got that. I've got I think I've got Lord of the Rings, the first. Have I got the first book? I'm looking through here now. Yeah, I've got the Fellowship of the Ring, Hitchhiker's Guide, Sherlock Holmes, which is
is that the Stephen Fry one?
Stephen Fry one, yeah. Poirot,
nice.
And I've just started listening to Atomic Habits by James Clear. I listened to it in bed, so I only listened to the first 10 minutes and then fell asleep. So I can't tell you anything else about that.
So this is what I used to do. So I used to, because I can't say its name because it's here, but an Amazon device that plays things on a speaker.
Alexa!
No. The thing is, it's not connected to the internet, so it just goes, I'm not connected to the internet right now, whenever you say its name. So I might unplug it now because I'm scared. And also, I've got headphones on. What am I worried about? So I used to do that. I used to say, like, put it on for 10 minutes, and then I'd fall asleep to it and miss it. But now I'm just listening to them in the car, which is when I used to listen to podcasts a lot. Yeah. And obviously when I used to live alone, I used to spend a lot more time listening to podcasts. But I haven't had the time alone to do that, really. So I've got a lot of catching up to do with a lot of podcasts. Yeah. I don't think there's one that I've listened to recently. Even friend of the show, Harry Mansell's podcast, 77 Club, I haven't listened to that for a couple of weeks. Just because as well, I don't know, I've just found watching the Wolves match, I don't watch any analysis at half-time or before the game or after the game. Yeah. So when I think about the game, I keep to myself. Alice isn't interested about it at all. And then it disappears then a couple of hours later. So, so I've really been enjoying those. And I've just learned a lot. I just wish I'd have done it sooner. But
Is there any piece history in particular going back to the original point, is there anything in particular, that you're finding that you might, go down delve deeper. Delve deeper, that's the sort of thing.
So I was really interested to learn about Cleopatra coming at you. I didn't know much about her. I didn't know that she and Julius Caesar had it off and had a child called Octavia. And then she had children with Mark Antony then. I knew about her relationship with Mark Antony. I didn't really know who he was. And then those twins that she had with Mark Antony then eventually usurped her. Alexander the Great as well. He sounds like a really interesting kind of guy because he was only like really big for 12 years or so, and he managed to conquer most of the Middle East. And he got all the way to the sort of edge of India from Greece, and he went into Egypt as well. And he was he was a pharaoh in Egypt and a Greek. What did they have? Greek
gods.
Emperor. No, he wasn't a god. But then he was a Persian king and stuff like that. Yeah. And he was the first sort of like multiculturalist in that he he used to wear Persian clothes despite being Greek, and some things like that were quite interesting. But I'm now up to, I've just finished listening about Martin Luther in the 1500s. So at that point, he was really annoyed. There was parts of the church were charging people to buy their way. What was it called? The word he used, I can't remember. But anyway, people could buy their way into heaven, so they pay the church.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, and then other people as well, they'd say, "Oh, well, your parents are probably in purgatory as well, so they probably need a couple £100 as well, or whatever they had in Germany at the time."
Yeah.
So Martin Luther was not very happy about that, and he made the Germans change their wicked ways. So he's quite interesting. I've just got up to now. What was I listening to on the way home? I can't remember, but it's
just to interject there, Tom. It's not the same Martin Luther as in Martin Luther King, in case people are getting confused. It's a different Martin Luther.
Yes. Yeah, but it's very, very interesting. I've learned a lot, and I'm now coming up to sort of the Industrial Revolution, I imagine, or I mean, still probably about 150 years away from the Industrial Revolution, but that's when it's going to kick off. And the chapter or the part of the book about our times, which is from 1918 till 2012, is the longest one because obviously it's the easiest to research. And I'll be looking forward to finishing it, although I am really enjoying listening to it as well. So, yes, maybe should we do a history podcast, Billy? Who's your favourite history person?
History person. Well, I was going to suggest, because obviously now, because you're in secondary, you're now in a secondary school position, and whereas when you were in primary school, you are able to obviously delve into various different subjects. It's slightly different, obviously, the traditional setup in secondary schools. Maybe you'll become a history teacher, Tom. Maybe that will be your focus eventually. We don't know. It could. We don't know whether this now is a new life passion instead of being a football YouTube channel that you obviously now have stopped doing. But you're going to come up with this new history. You'll be on the history channel and everything.
Maybe. Well, I did do history for GCSE, fun fact.
Yeah.
But I failed. I got a D. Because I think at that time I wasn't very good at writing essays and stuff, and that's basically what it was. You used to get I think the exam was you get 2 questions, and that was it. You had to write. You had an hour and a half to write 2 essays, and I was hopeless at it. And it was all to do with the Second World War, which is not my favourite period.
I did the same. I did GCSE history, but I had the benefit of I don't know if it was a benefit really, but I broke my arm before I had to sit. Someone had to scribe for me, so I literally just could sit there and go, right, this is what we're going to talk about. Same with my English paper and my in Wales we have so in English obviously you have your language and lit papers. In Wales you have the same. So I was literally there. You can write all of this down for me, and I'll just sit here because I broke my right wrist and couldn't write, so it was brilliant. So yeah.
On that note, with Billy breaking his right wrist, I think we'll draw a line under today's episode, and we'll see you all again next week. Don't forget to check us out on other things. Check out my new podcast, Rouse Pod. It's on various different types of podcasting platforms, and Billy's podcast as well, A Backpacker's Guide to Travel as well. There's 4 episodes of that out now. When do they come out? On Wednesday?
They come out every Wednesday. Yeah. So Dan Stagg's on it this week, friend of the podcast, and him talking about the best day of his life, which wasn't his wedding day. So I think that's going to go down well. So yeah, go and listen to that.
Cool. Right. We'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.